Back in a time when every scrap of food mattered, our grandparents developed kitchen routines that were, well, precise, practical, and almost ritualistic. In wartime Europe, scarcity wasn't just an inconvenience. It was a daily reality. Leftovers were never tossed, ingredients were maximized, and the mindset was simple. Nothing edible should go to waste. Understanding these routines not only sheds light on how our ancestors lived, but it also offers modern survivalists and history enthusiasts some real, actionable methods to stretch resources efficiently. They stored everything with purpose and foresight. Refrigeration was rare or, pretty minimal, so preserving food was an art form. Grandparents would keep potatoes in cool, dark cellars layered with straw to keep them from sprouting. Root vegetables like carrots, parsnips, and turnips were tucked away in sand-filled boxes, sometimes right alongside cabbage heads wrapped in cloth. Apples were hung in mesh nets to keep them from bruising, while cured meats were stored in dry, ventilated spaces to slow spoilage. Even today, anyone looking to minimize food waste can, honestly, replicate these methods. A small, cool corner in the kitchen or basement can become a root vegetable cellar. Simple layering with sand, sawdust, or even cloth preserves them far longer than just leaving them out on a counter. They planned every meal around leftovers. Meals weren't just prepared, they were planned with an eye on tomorrow. Roasts were cooked with the intent of becoming sandwiches, stews, or pies the next day. Bones were never discarded, they went right into soups or broths. Stale bread became breadcrumbs or croutons. In modern kitchens, adopting this mindset means treating leftovers as raw material. Roast chicken can become a hearty pie filling, while vegetable trimmings can be simmered into stock, making every meal a multi-step process that really maximizes nutrition and flavor. They used every part of produce. Peels, stems, and even leaves were valuable. Carrot tops and beet greens were boiled into soups or sautéed with garlic. Citrus peels were dried and used for flavoring cakes or teas. Potato skins, when scrubbed clean, were roasted into snacks. Today, incorporating this principle can significantly reduce waste while enhancing meals. Save your vegetable trimmings for homemade stocks. Keep citrus peels in the freezer to sprinkle over desserts or infuse into drinks. The key is recognizing edible potential where modern habits see garbage. They practiced careful portioning and rationing. Grandparents measured quantities precisely because resources were limited. Flour, sugar, and meat were allocated according to need, and nothing went unused. Today, adopting a similar approach can be surprisingly effective. Cooking slightly smaller portions and storing the excess safely prevents both spoilage and overeating. Even in this modern supermarket age, treating each ingredient as precious really does foster creativity in the kitchen and helps cut down on that unconscious waste that comes from overpurchasing. Folks back then preserved food using natural methods. Canning, pickling, and fermenting weren't just hobbies, they were real necessities. Vegetables and fruits were preserved in vinegar, salt, or sugar to extend their shelf life. Jams, jellies, and chutneys were staples, capturing those surplus harvests for later on. Fermented foods like sauerkraut and kimchi not only lasted for months, but also provided essential nutrients when fresh produce was scarce. And, applying this today can be pretty straightforward. Excess cucumbers become pickles, overripe berries become jam, and cabbage can be transformed into sauerkraut, giving modern kitchens the same extended shelf life without relying solely on refrigeration. They maintained a zero-waste kitchen mindset. Nothing was thrown away impulsively. Spoiled or soft vegetables were composted, animal fats were saved for cooking or soap making, and even scraps found secondary uses in feeding animals or enriching soil. This mindset is directly applicable today. If an ingredient is past its prime for direct consumption, find alternative uses before discarding it. Vegetable scraps can create rich stocks, peels can become flavor enhancers, and composting keeps nutrients circulating instead of ending up in the trash. Complexity was luxury, simplicity was survival. Stews, porridges, casseroles, and one-pot meals allowed multiple ingredients to be used simultaneously, reducing spoilage. Today, adopting this approach means that combining small amounts of leftover vegetables, grains, and proteins can produce filling, nutritious meals. Implementing these routines doesn't require living in wartime conditions. The principles are timeless, careful storage, deliberate portioning, complete utilization of ingredients, and thoughtful preservation. For history enthusiasts, it provides a glimpse into the everyday ingenuity that defined life during scarcity. For survivalists, it offers actionable strategies to extend food supplies without sacrificing nutrition or taste. The lessons from these old kitchen routines prove that reducing food waste isn't just about frugality. It's about skill, foresight, and respect for what we have. Whether you're recreating historical meals for research, practicing survival skills, or simply seeking to become more resourceful in the kitchen, these methods are practical, proven, and remarkably adaptable. If you found these insights valuable, make sure to subscribe to Warpaths of Europe for more practical history lessons. Share this guide with fellow history buffs and survivalists to keep these timeless skills alive and put them to work in your own kitchen.